Hello, welcome to another Hands-On with me, Christian Schiller. I think I'm quite liking this lighting at the moment. But anyway, I digress. I look very small though. Anyway, every week at 5 p.m. Central European time, that is currently UTC +1, 5 p.m. 1700 hours, I get my hands on this keyboard and this mouse, less impressive looking, on a piece of cool technology, usually developer focused, not so much in this case, maybe slightly a little bit, and I'll get to what that is in a minute. But if you enjoy what you see, you can find more about me at christianschiller.com. If you're joining in chat, and I can see some of you are, say hi. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Always happy to answer people's questions, and love to hear from you. So what is today's topic? Today's topic is something that I've experimented with a little bit in the past, actually, but I'm quite keen to do a series of these sorts of related tools, and this is the first of that, and dig into it a little bit more myself. It is Twine, which is confusingly on the website twinery.org, even though the tool is called Twine. Confusing. I often get it a little bit mixed up because there's another tool I sometimes use for Twitter bots called Tracery. So there seems to be a theme of adding an "uri" at the end of a lot of these tools. But anyway, what is Twine? It's an open source tool. It's fully open source for telling interactive non-linear stories. What does that mean? That kind of means maybe some of you used to read things like Choose Your Own Adventure books. I think like on a very much more advanced level, books like, is it Telltale Studio, something like that? Make a lot of the Batman and these kind of superhero and various other tie-in stories where you move backwards and forwards between topics. They're still quite popular. Fighting Fantasy, Lone Wolf, these sorts of books, but it's a tool that lets you do that in a more digital format instead. Also a little bit like those kind of old school text games. This might seem a strange kind of idea, but actually I've done quite a few of them as playthroughs on my Solo Adventurer video stream series, whatever you call it. And I like writing them myself because it's kind of like a structured idea. You don't have to go into too much detail, and you can kind of take an idea in different angles and things like that. The website, let's dig it. Oopsie daisy, sorry. I normally get that out of the way. Is twinery.org, as we said. This is how the website has looked for quite some time, actually. I think it's always one of the negatives of Twine. It is open source. It is maintained. I should actually find that. But the website perpetually looks really out of date. So, see if I can find. I'm sure there is a GitHub repository somewhere. No, it's not what I'm looking for. Yeah. Oops. Like 3 links there, which is confusing. Let's see. Okay, not good. Twine, there we go, got there. Twine UI, Twine Quest. Yeah, there's a lot of different kind of bits here, but it is. Oh, I thought it was maintained. This is confusing. Okay, maybe it's not maintained anymore. Interesting. Huh. That is in it's moved from this repository into another repository. Right, that's confusing. Okay. Bitbucket. Okay. You don't find. All right. This is confusing. Send you all over the place. Okay, finally, there we go. Twinery.org. Move to a new repository, Clembot Twine.js. It is a JavaScript application. It's an Electron desktop app. And it can run in the browser. I've tried to run it in on iPad, like an action application on iPad, and it doesn't work so well. And it also uses local storage in the browser or whatever browser interface you are using to store your stories. So you can't really share the stories, unfortunately. Actually, I think maybe that's not quite right, but that's one of the limitations of trying to get it on iOS anyway. There's quite an ecosystem of plugins and extensions for it, and lots of people still use it. I mean, maybe it was maybe it was slightly more popular a few years ago, but I feel like there's still a lot of them on Itch and things like that. I think this probably needs updating, to be honest with you. And if you search around, you will find lots of ecosystem extensions for it. Things like Markdown exporters and all sorts of things like that. They're not particularly widely shown here, but if you search, you will find them. So this is the desktop application here. It looks kind of how you'd expect. This is the one I've worked on. We'll come to that in a minute. It's a web application, so there's not too much here to show you in the menu. It does mean I can zoom in. Well, I could a minute ago. That's strange. There we go. I could zoom in to show you a bit better. Light and dark mode. My computer has switched into dark mode. I don't know which is more visible. It doesn't look very visible on screen, I don't think. Let's stay here. Archive. Okay. Archive everything. Formats. So here is where you'll see some of the different ecosystem as well. And the different story formats allow for different features. And you can find some of the documentation here. We'll actually open that up because that documentation actually kind of has a lot more. We have proofing formats here, which is pretty much the only one. We can also add our own custom ones. So there is kind of a tutorial here. Yep. And you can see the last version was in April, so it is still active. I guess that's for Twine itself, yeah. What we kind of want is a getting started for Twine. I'm not sure if there really is one, if it really constitutes the need, but let's just, here we go, getting started. Let's see. And my story here, which maybe we can quickly go through, is kind of littered with lots of to-dos, which I will attempt to fill in today a little bit. But this one is something I worked on. We can just click the play here. It should open in the browser. It's very, 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 very rough. It's one of my to-dos is to improve it. You can see version 0.1. So yeah, you click through links. Yeah. I think you probably get the idea. Yep. And you get the idea. And you can kind of see, that's interesting, that is not working. Oh, there it is, okay. I did find when I've loaded this in the past, this really kills browser performance, this documentation. You can see kind of loosely how this all works. I can actually zoom out here. Yeah, branches, you can move them around. Let's start afresh though and come back to this in a minute. How do I get back? Home, that was obvious. Okay, let's have a look. If anyone wants to give me a story suggestion, that will be cool. So let's add a story. Let's call it Hands-On. Why not? Sounds like a riveting story. This is kind of telling you what to do here. Editing passages, you can just basically double click and there's content. Coriolis. That's cool. I've been playing a roleplay game called Coriolis. And yeah, I think you get the idea. You double click. You can give it a title if you so wish. Zooming in, it's going to make this a bit squished. You add the passage here. The temptation is to think this is Markdown. It isn't, because I kept trying to write Markdown. It's kind of its own weird sort of format. Maybe it is sort of Markdown. I don't know. I remember, yeah, like this isn't This is not like Markdown at all. I don't know why it uses that, and like some of it is and some of it isn't. Like, yeah. But anyway, that's yeah. And then you have macros as well, which we'll come to in a minute. So we could say you are running a live stream, and you get the kind of loose idea. Oops, it would be helpful to spell that quickly. You get the idea here. We could bold it. We could make it a funky color. Why not? Let's make it... so we get some pickers and things like that. Let's make it red. I think that will do for now. And yeah, you can start to see how this code kind of looks. It looks sort of vaguely familiar, but not quite. There's also the ability to... Oh no, cool tooltip. I thought it was comments for some strange reason. And there's a whole bunch of other things which we'll come to in a second, but we'll just do what it suggested. It didn't tell us to actually give it a name, no, but you basically see what we saw earlier. You click play, and yeah, there we go. You get the idea. So what else? Let me do it online, let me desktop. Yeah, connected passages. So this is pretty much what you do. It's kind of like a wiki syntax. You just add links, and then it auto creates the empty shells for you. So this is just the double brackets here. You can actually customize the link text and the link to be different things, which I actually have done a lot. So you could multi-purpose the same passage with a different title to click, that kind of thing. But let's just go for this for now. So you're running a live stream. I should ask a question. What do you demonstrate? So we could say my coding setup. Or we could say Twine. There we go. And now you'll see we have these two other boxes, passages I think they're called. Click play. Yeah. I've got a bad feeling I spelled demonstrate wrong, but I don't think I did. Anyway, and yes, but there's nothing there right now. Oh, that's interesting. Oh no, that's the default. Stupid Chris. Okay. And you can also do things like just hit play straight from here and go straight into that passage, things like that. It's good. Someone just added a comment, but in an odd place, and I'm slightly confused. I'm not 100% sure why I'm seeing notifications for a video on my phone and not in the app I use for seeing messages, but hello. Nice to hear from you. Okay. So you get the idea. And I think the rest of this is fairly basic. Yep, I think this is pretty much all it's going to tell us how to do. The other thing we can do is this debug mode. This shows us these variables and things like that, which is not particularly relevant in this example, but yes, you can have variables, and they get quite useful, but quite confusing to keep trace of. This is the one thing I have found with using this in a designer. I get quite quickly stuck on how I want to do things, and I will actually show you, I use a mind mapping tool to often, and this is where it'd be super nice to have like an import-export kind of option from different formats, because what I tend to do is, so here we go, I map out where I want the story to go with all the text, and then I transform it into Twine, which is a little bit of double handling, but I find it too hard to be able to tell what I'm doing in Twine sometimes. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, it'd be nice to have, because this will actually export Markdown. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I did look into it, and there's a lot of ecosystem around Twine that probably I could pass it all through, but yeah, I didn't really get there. I just did it manually to begin with. And that's pretty much that quick start guide. I think I could have done that myself, really. I didn't really need to look at that, but I don't think there's much else here that, I don't know, here we go, choosing story formats. I don't think this is massively relevant. Harlow, basic interaction. So Snowman, if you want to do more JavaScript and CSS interaction. I've mostly only ever done it with Harlow. It's been enough for me, but maybe it is something I want to dig into. Oh, sorry, my chair is very squeaky. I do apologize. And there's some others here. 1 second. Sorry, there was someone at the door. It's a problem with doing a live stream. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, and Chatbook, which is another one of the other formats. But I've mostly played around with Harlow. We'll keep digging into that. The sort of strange links we looked at. I think, yeah, so this is where you can do the different text. This might be an interesting time to jump into my one. So, whoa, this looks so small now. So yeah, for example, here, you can see, actually there's a different format. That's interesting. Okay. Link to, yeah, named. So you can do it 2 different ways. Yeah, so actually this is the Twine 2 way. So it's actually either direction as well. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I feel like forward or to the right. I don't know why I consider the right forward, but anyway, to make more sense, but that's just me personally. But you see the idea here, although these are all exactly the same, so that's not a good example. There's definitely some where I did this. Yeah, here we go. Here's an example. So head to the bar. The link is I drink. I'm just going to mute again for 1 second. That's all right. Yeah, you get the idea there. So you can do that sort of thing. Reviewing stories. That'd be really, yeah. If you're proofing copy, it'd be interesting. Actually, I never really looked at that. Let's have a look. This basically just gives you, I don't know how useful that is. Yeah. Publishing on itch. Yep, that's what I've generally done, and it's pretty much just HTML export, really. Yep, and embed options, things like that. I think so. Yeah, I think this is kind of the getting started guide. Takes you from the basics to publishing. I think it's probably actually a good time to jump into, I don't think there's much more here worth going into. You can use HTML, story format, CSS, things like that. I think it's probably worth jumping actually more into this is really where a lot of the work, a lot of the power is. And boy, is this web page really slow. I just hit zoom and that's how long it took. I don't know what makes it so heavy. Probably this interactive stuff here. That's also quite useful. So I had a bunch of things I wanted to change here. I have to remember what they were. I might have removed a lot of them. So this is what you can do with variables, for example. So someone selects this type of vampire in this, and it sets a variable. And in fact, I think if we started up in debug mode, you would see this. So I think I've often, let me move this up a bit so you can see it. I often found the debug mode to be slightly confusing, but so there we go. Oh, maybe not. I don't know why I thought it was confusing, but there we go. So you see it here. We can see our version string was the variable I had already, and now we've set vampire type to Nosferatu. And I suppose we could change them if we wanted. I'm not sure. Like manually in here if we wanted to. Although, so the interesting thing is here, I do nothing with this variable at this point in my story. So here's something we could actually experiment with. Maybe we go into one of these steps. So there was one here where, let's see, lurk in a darkened corner. That will do. So this is just text here. Let's maybe use the variable to display different things depending what the vampire's type was. And we could have a quick sort of hover on some of these. I think these are all fairly self-explanatory. These formatting ones, that's color. That is borders around text, I suppose. That is rotated text. That is special styles. Yeah, all sorts of things there. You can do lots of animations. I did actually do it, I think, in one place. Headings, lists. I guess that's an underline. No, horizontal rule. Alignment. Columns, which is interesting. Collapse white space, I'm not quite sure what that means. Verbatim, ignore all markup. Quite sure what that means. I don't know if I want to use it right now. Links, ifs, which I think is what we want, we'll come to in a second. Input, so I guess that's getting input from somebody, their name or something like that. Actually, I'm getting distracted now by all sorts of ideas. So let's continue down the actual path that we set ourselves and then come back to that maybe. Hooks is, yeah, actually that's something I think it's worth quickly maybe seeing where that is mentioned. Where is it mentioned? I get the feeling a lot of the explanation is in the format, which is interesting. It's an interesting choice because to me it feels like a UI feature. Yeah, there's actually nothing mentioned here, strangely. Named hooks. There we go. I think that's what we want. So, yeah, that's not really telling me. Here we go. Macros and named hooks. It doesn't really tell me what it is, though, does it? I think maybe we should look at the Marlow, Harlow documentation. Wait for the page to open because it is so slow. Yep. Okay. And a hook is, well, even in Safari, this is really sluggish. A means of indicating that a specific span of passage prose is special in some way. Essentially consists of text between single square brackets. I can't quite see from here. Prose inside a hook can be modified, styled, controlled, and analyzed. So you can actually make the passage dynamic in itself. So that's quite interesting. And then we could change it depending on what people clicked, that kind of thing. So that's what a hook is. Anyway, and a macro, not sure what a macro, well, I kind of know what a macro is in principle, but what is it in Twine? A piece of code that inserted into a passage text. Macros are used to accomplish many effects, such as altering game state. This gets interesting. You can do something quite a bit more complex. Displaying different text depending on the game state and altering the manner in which text is displayed. So this is where it gets interesting as well, I find, with Twine, is sometimes, much like any kind of vaguely programming related thing, there's multiple ways to accomplish something, and what is the best way? That is kind of where you have to figure it out. And then finally here we have proofreading view, coding tooltips, which I think we have enabled, and help, which takes you to Harlow, so that does seem to be the best place to go. So what we want to do is we want to change the text here based on the type of vampire that's selected. So, or it was picked. And I'm wondering what is the best option here. So let's review again. A macro is a piece of code inserted into passage text used to accomplish many effects such as altering the state, displaying different text depending on the game's state. Is state variables in this case? I guess. It's not completely clear. Kind of. It also explains there. So I'm asked to see an example. So this is more like so that's a good example either. I don't know if this is the right area. I feel like, well, it's definitely using a variable, that's for sure. Let's have a quick look there. Oh, this web page. There we go. Remember data. Yeah. Feel like Oh, it's the same page. That's why it looks familiar. Yeah, it's not much there. And then hook is special in some way. Modified, styled, controlled. I feel like a hook is what we want, I think. It's also kind of an if statement, but I feel like they're combined. And there's kind of a lot of different options here. Some are more familiar than others. So if and things like that are familiar. Unless is more like, I'm not quite sure what it is. So it's like an if. Okay. For else either. That like a switch maybe? Okay, so it's a random thing. That's actually kind of useful. Conditional, maybe that's what we want. We're given a sequence of booleans. Not quite what we want either. Change, new. I think that's what we want. Enchant. I'm not sure if that's what we want either. So I think it's probably just ifs. And you could start to... Actually, we didn't look at display, but I get the feeling that's probably... yeah. So that outputs strings from other places, I suppose, which can be useful for reproducible passages, I suppose. Let's, sorry, stick with if for now, I think. Oh, uses only booleans. Oh, but it is a boolean. Going mad here. This feels a long-winded way of doing it, though. I feel like there's a better way. No, I mean, this is basically what we're looking for. So let's kind of copy that and fill it out. I haven't really thought this through in terms of narrative, so so I don't know if we get autocomplete of any description here. It doesn't look like it. So you have to... Oh, actually, maybe we do if... No. So you have to be able to remember your variables is the only problem. I think that's over here. So we can actually see, yeah, vampire type. There we go. These I also have to remember what the options were. If vampire type is sure, Nosferatu. This is where it's also kind of difficult because to find them, I kind of need to look in another window, which I can't get to right now. So there's a few usability issues here and there, but let's copy and paste. What was the other one? It was Twilight. That's the other one. Yes, I mean, you can play this. You can find a link on christianschiller.com. We actually want another else if. I think I copy and pasted it. Not quite right. Yep. I wonder, is it... Oh, it is actually, yep. Okay. I was looking to see if it had spacing in or not. All right. So, Nosferatu is like the traditional scary-looking vampire. So people looking at you, admiring your the purity you have for your art. As I said, I haven't given this any narrative thought. Twilight. People you admiring your devilish good looks, and I actually haven't seen Twilight, so when did Twilight come out? In the 90s or something? I can't remember. Or was it 2000s? Your Nokia. I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, but whatever. Okay. Your ageless good looks. Else. Oh. I mean, I can't imagine this is ever actually be an option. But there we go. So we can run this. We'd have to start it from the beginning. So we have a variable, I suppose. So let's take that back to the beginning. What should we pick? Anyone in the chat room? Twilight. Okay, fine. Yep. We want to head to a disco. Doesn't really matter. So we want to lurk in the darkened corner. Oh, okay. Oh, well that worked, but something didn't work. No, not that one. That one. Oh, it must be that, which is weird. I got that from the copy paste. I assumed it was okay. Okay. I don't know if refreshing. No, not quite. Okay. No, still. What's broken? The space, maybe? Must be the space. Intriguing. Seems we have to keep restarting to make sure we get a... Actually, this might be an opportunity to see if... Yeah, so that's obviously not very thought through. Can we add a variable? Seemingly not. So yeah, we do have to go back to the beginning. Sorry. Let's do a different one this time. Head to disco, soak up some beats, we get dirty guitars, look at a darkened corner. Nosferatu. I think I must have spelled something wrong. But you get the idea? Nosferatu. Oh, nosy Ferratu. Oh dear, Chris. Now, unfortunately, I think we do have to... Let's start again. All right, it'll work this time, I'm sure. No. What have I got wrong here? This is... Nosferatu. I cannot fathom what I have wrong. The Twilight one worked. I don't know. I'm going mad here. Let me... It looks the same to me. I don't know. It doesn't like Nosferatu for some reason. Fair enough, I suppose. Try one more. We'll stick with Gothic horror, although I get the feeling space might cause a problem. Okay, now that worked. I don't know what problem it has with Nosferatu, but anyway, what I've done wrong. Okay, let's... So that was one thing I wanted to do. There were some other things I wanted to try. I think I removed all the to-dos. I'm trying to remember what else I wanted to do. So here you can actually see an example of... yeah, so you can add animations here. Yep, it just goes on and on. Another one I did somewhere was... I have to try and find it. There was like a disappearing links thing. To try and find it now. No. somewhere in here. I can't for the life of me find it. Yeah, here. Okay. So this one. So yeah, that is an example of link reveal. When you click on that link, it shows the other things. So you can end up with both. There was another one where it like cycled through though. I'm trying to find that. I can't seem to find it. I mean, I can find it in the documentation, of course, but I wanted to find it in here. And I can't find it, but it was... where is it? No, this is... cycling link, this one here. Wait a second. There we go. So yeah, cycling link, this kind of thing. So the more you click, it keeps changing the text. And then what does it do though at the end? That was the bit I can't quite remember. Doesn't seem to... Can't quite remember what it does when it gets to the end though. I don't think it does anything. So you have to kind of wrap that in something else to get to somewhere else afterwards. Let's try this input. I'm fading for a second all of a sudden. Let's go here. Because this is a common entry point. So okay, well, that's another important question. What do you call yourself? We can add the input here. Yep. So you have a couple of different options here. Initially contains this text. Force the player to type this text. So I think that means that people have to type a certain thing. Drop down menu of options, checkbox, dialog box. And we have to give it a variable name, of course. So let's call it Empire name. Add it. Interesting syntax, but okay. And then again, we'll use that elsewhere. I want to use it down here. Let's add the variable in here. So I'm interested to know how you can just display a variable. Let's see. Something like, there was the variables section up here. And I'll probably make this the last thing I try. So we can just output the variable name. So that's good. Let's pop it in here. Oops, yeah, not plushie. It'd be nice to have autocomplete on the variables, but yep. So we can do the same thing on all of these. Maybe we'll leave that one out because the werewolf doesn't talk. So lurking loner here. Back off. This is my territory. Can we have a variable inside the link? We're about to find out. All right, let's see. Let's go back to the beginning. Twilight. Oh, that didn't work, did it? For some reason. Oh no, Nosferatu was the one that didn't work. Whoops. Okay, anyway. What do you call yourself? That's a big box. I I've forgotten what I am. I think I was a Nosferatu. No, it was a Twilight. I don't know. Gerald the Mighty. There we go. Why not? I guess we don't have to hit enter or something. No, we can see it's entered down here. Oh, I forgot. Whole time I haven't had my highlight. There we go. So down here. So let's head to a disco. We want to get to that point. Like in a darkened corner. We will hunt and we go for this one. Yes, there we go. It works. You can even add the links. Lone. There, so it's got our name. I don't know why I went for the shake again. That looks kind of weird. But anyways. So you get the idea there. I can't honestly remember what some of the things I wanted to do here were. But so you can see there's quite a lot you can do. It's sometimes hard to know what it is you want to do. There's plenty of examples here to look around. Oh, there we go. Macros produce either commands or data values. Attach values to hooks to change the text. So, okay, I still not 100% sure if I'm doing the right thing. Lots of example stories here. And you can do lots of things. There's one I played on the Solo Adventurer called 7 card something to do with cards, and that was really powerful. I think it was Twine. Might not be. I'm not 100% sure. But I think it was. And that went to extremely... It kept track of cards you'd played, all sorts of things like that. So you can start to do a lot of complexity. I say tracking it all is probably hard. This is where I'd almost want to get out of here and look at it just in a text editor or something. And yeah, I'm trying to think where the best place to try and find like the ecosystem of stuff available is, because there's definitely a big ecosystem of exporters and importers and all sorts of things, but finding them it just kind of is somewhat loose. I know there is a Discord and a forum, but trying to actually find them in one place is not so easy. And it isn't really mentioned here. You just kind of look up. So you could look up, for example, Twine Markdown. Well, it's not really the Twine, is it? We should probably look up the actual format, but let's just see out of interest. Okay, yeah, that's not really helpful. Maybe we should look at Harlow instead. It's also not massively helpful, but you get the idea. You see... Yeah, I don't know how helpful that is really, but you get the idea that, here we go. So there's actually, look by topic maybe, on GitHub. Yeah, so audio, interesting. So you start to, list of time resources, nice. So you start to see where you can find these things. It's a little hard to find sometimes, but yeah. And this is where I find I'm not 100% sure how active a lot of the development around Twine is these days. You tend to find things were a few years ago, but I'm not really sure what else there is instead of Twine. So, yeah. And there's also, so you can see a lot. Oh, here's the examples. They're lurking here under examples, not... Yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, there's loads of examples here. Why are they that hard to find for some strange reason? But also statistics, so game state, things like that. Yeah, this is amazing. Why didn't I find this earlier? Man. There we go. Anyway, what's this? I think these are old examples, though. Twee. Yeah, and Harlow is up to version 3 now. So this is the problem. There are lots of examples, but... What is Twee exactly? I'm not 100% sure now. That wasn't really mentioned anywhere. Just have a quick look. Okay, it is the source code of a Twine story in Twine 1. Okay, so it looks like it's an old... Like it's old syntax. So those examples were somewhat out of date, I guess. Strange. I don't know how long Twine 2 has been around, but it's like a lot of the documentation mentions See, you can do things from command line, stuff like that. But yeah, it's hard to keep track of what is kind of up to date. This is all in Twine 1. So, yeah. So that's interesting because you go to here. This is under version 2. You click on the link, but then it shows you syntax that's, as far as I can tell, out of date. I don't know why that link isn't even working now. Oh, here we go. Harlow. Isn't that what I just clicked on? But it's tweetcode. Yeah, I don't know. So it's a slightly confusing world at times, but you can get quite some way on your own and then dig into the Harlow documentation. So, yeah. To summarize, I suppose. Twine. I honestly, as far as I'm really aware, it's the only open source option for doing this kind of thing, if this is the kind of thing you want to do. There are some others that are more specific, like I've also played around with Expedition, which has its own syntax, specifically kind of aimed at like dungeon-style games, but there's no reason you couldn't do anything else in it. But apart from those, I'm not 100% sure how many others there are. There were others I was keeping tabs on, and then I looked into them and realized they hadn't been developed for some time. So maybe there's other formats out there. I'd love to know if there are, if Twine is not the most up-to-date anymore. I'm not 100% sure myself. But so it's a little hard to navigate sometimes and figure out what's going on and get kind of, I think the getting started is fine, but then getting to the more complexities, I feel like you might end up just digging into HTML and JavaScript, which is fine, but nice to have something a bit more in the middle, and then you could just kind of do it in HTML and JavaScript, I suppose, is the problem there. But it's fun to get started. If you're not really a programmer, you can get some way. I think the important thing to emphasize with something like Twine is you're focusing on storytelling. The programming is kind of secondary. It's an enhancement to the story, but there's some very good, very nicely told stories that use Twine and are not complex technically. So it allows people who are more interested in storytelling to do something interactive, and the rest of it is kind of a bonus, really, in some respects. So if that appeals to you, check it out. You can find my story, The Europop Vampire, on christianschiller.com. There'll be some more coming soon. And I think it's Pay What You Feel on itch as well. So take a look. And I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts. And if you have used Twine yourself, you can find how to get in touch with me at christianschiller.com. Or, of course, you can subscribe, leave a comment here, say hi. And I'll be back next week, 5 p.m. Central European Time. That's UTC +1. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to cover yet. And until then, take care, everybody.